Greetings, everyone. We are back for another schedule breakdown. Today we'll be looking at the Washington and Lee women's basketball schedule, who are currently number 2 in my algorithmic preseason rankings. So let's get right to their schedule. I've worked on this template a little bit, and hopefully we can walk through this really carefully and clearly so that you can understand what I'm trying to do here. We have 27 games here for Washington and Lee. The 2 games in yellow are projected ODAC tournament games. I actually think that the ODAC has an 18 tournament, I believe, maybe more. And I'm not sure if a potential top seed like Washington and Lee might have 3 games in the ODAC tournament. But in any case, if I'm missing a quarterfinal ODAC tournament game for Washington and Lee, it will have little to no impact on this analysis. They are also in a tournament that they're playing Washington College in the first day of. And I'm not sure who they're playing on the second day. So I just picked a team from Region 6 that is not a super good or super bad team. I picked Brevard. Obviously, if this ends up being a super strong team like, I don't know, Johns Hopkins, that would change this analysis somewhat. And then if it is a really, really bad team, it probably wouldn't change this analysis at all. But it could be a very good team. I don't know who else is in that tournament. Each opponent for Washington and Lee, I am showing their preseason ranking of mine. And then this is the associated NPI value of the team that was ranked this in NPI at the end of last year. While NPI values can change year to year, they will change. They're not going to be wildly different. Like the 24th best team in NPI is not going to have like a 63 or a 57 NPI. They might have a 60.2 or a 61.05, but it's going to be pretty close. Right now, I'm just saying Washington and Lee is going to win all these games. This is their starting point. So then you can see for their win rank, we calculate the win rank, and we only need to keep 15 of these. So there's 15. We then average them all, and then this is just looking at this NPI and trying to find the NPI that was closest to it last year, and then it shows the rank of that NPI that was the closest to it. Some key thresholds. We know that to be a sectional host, you're likely going to have an NPI rank in the top 4. You don't have to. Some teams might not put in for hosting. Some teams might not be very geographically feasible, and all 4 top NPI teams might not make it to sectionals. But this is just kind of our starting spot. To be a top 8 protected seed, you do have to be in the top 8. That one is very cut and dry. To be an opening weekend host, this is very similar to the sectional host. You don't have to be in the top 16, but we're kind of using it just to give ourselves an idea. If you're 28, you're unlikely to host in the opening weekend. And then the NPI rank of the last team that got a Pool C bid was around 45th. It was 45th last year. I don't remember what it was the year before, but it seems to be right around that range every single year. Then over here, I have my safe and dangerous threshold loss totals. So what this has done is that's my linear regression analysis. It takes an average of all of a team's opponent NPIs and then looks at last year for similar averages and similar loss totals and sees if that team got a Pool C bid or not, and then says, hey, for this average opponent NPI, this is the number of losses that you can have to be safe or be dangerous when it comes to getting a Pool C bid. And this 27-0 just reflects 27 wins here, 0 losses. So what we can do is we can just start saying, hey, let's say Washington and Lee loses one of these games to Randolph-Macon. 26-1. Ooh, they went from 2nd in NPI to 7th. So after 1 loss, this kind of sectional hosting chance really starts to be in jeopardy. But they're 7th, far inside of 45, far inside that Pool C range. We're just going to keep walking down this list. 2 losses, they go to 9th. So now they're in danger of missing out of that top 8 protected seed, but they're still very, very safe for all the other things. We go to 3 losses. Down to 11th. Slight tick down, not changing a whole lot else. 4th loss, that's a big one. They went from 11th to 22. And if we go see why, they definitely started losing to kind of a different class of team that dropped down a little bit here. But they also now had to count this Shenandoah win 180 over 186 versus 168. Both of those working in conjunction drop them down a lot. And then also, the further you go down NPI, the closer together all the teams are. So the same absolute change in NPI is going to cause a larger change in rank. Let's go to 5 losses. So at 5 losses, they're 29th. So actually backing up, kind of that difference between 3 losses looks like opening weekend hosting is a strong possibility. 4 losses, they're probably going to need some geographical help there. And Washington and Lee they're not in a bad spot. They're not in a great spot as far as geography goes for hosting. So kind of 3 losses is that target for hosting opening weekend for them. With this 5th loss, they go down to 29th, but that's still pretty far inside of this 45th Pool C cut line. So you can see 5 losses is very safe. Obviously, I can't show you 5.52 losses, but let's look at 6. So at 6, they go to 38. So it looks like 5.52 as the safe threshold loss total was conservative, as 6 losses looks pretty safe. Again, now this is assuming that the 6 games that they lose are their 6 most difficult. If they lose any of these down here, it will drop them even more. But then let's look at losing a 7th game. That puts them right on the bubble. And so this dangerous threshold is actually quite good. I'm happy to see that. But that kind of gives you an idea. We haven't spent much time in this, but hopefully it can be really, really clear that for Washington and Lee, we know their opponents. These are my guesses at these teams' preseason rankings. These will be different. And if Shenandoah isn't 186, if they're team 96, that affects this quite a bit. And that is definitely possible. 7 losses on the bubble. 6 losses, you're fine, but probably not doing any hosting. 5 losses, you're also fine, probably not doing any hosting. 4 losses, you're fine, maybe hosting, but probably not. 3 losses, should be pretty sure you're hosting in the opening weekend. 2 losses, you might be a top 8 protected seed. We're right on the edge of that. And then 1 loss is probably still out of the running for hosting a sectional if they get there. Again, this is not knowing anything about geography or not counting anything about geography. So that's kind of a look at Washington and Lee women's basketball and how I walk down their schedule. Again, this is the clearest way that I can show NPI, and if I want to see what a team is faced with for a year, for the upcoming year, it's looking at this with projected opponent NPI, and you sort it, and so you just see like, oh, at each of these, if they lose this many games, this is where their 15th best win lies, and so this is 6 losses. They count a team, Hollins, which I have 198th. If, again, this is just a penciled in game, I don't know anything about this. This is a large potential jump. And so if they lose that 7th game, that's kind of a reason that they drop quite a bit, is you're now having to count a win against a much lower NPI ranked team than you previously had to. And so do this for a team and look at their opponents and see where are their big jumps in here. So like the difference between 107, 108, 108, 120, 120, 129, even 129, 155, they're not giant jumps, but then like 198 to 232, large jump. 234 to 262, pretty large jump. 283 to 320. And for, every single team, they're going to have a different distribution of opponents, and the implications of losing that extra game is going to be different for every team, depending on what lower ranked win it brings back into counting territory. So that's a look at Washington Lee women's basketball, their 2025 to 26 schedule. Please like, subscribe, drop a comment if you have questions, and also drop a comment if you have ideas for future videos. Thanks, everyone.